Some cars announce money. A custom Rolls-Royce often does the opposite. It hides a private biography inside leather, wood, and silence. The buyer does not simply choose a model. The buyer begins a conversation about taste, memory, control, and permanence. Every modern Rolls-Royce is built by hand at Goodwood, where the factory looks less like industry than a guarded estate. More than 600 hours can go into building one Rolls-Royce. Complex commissions may take years before delivery. For some clients, the real status is not the badge. It is knowing a human hand made what others overlook. Rolls-Royce private offices bring Goodwood's designers closer to clients in cities such as Dubai, Shanghai, New York, and Seoul. Seoul became Rolls-Royce's fourth private office outside Goodwood, following Dubai, Shanghai, and New York. Rolls-Royce clients can choose from thousands of paint possibilities, or ask the company to create a shade no stranger owns. The strange part is not how much they spend. It is how often they bring memories instead of specifications. Before mass production flattened taste, Coachbuilding meant a wealthy owner could commission a body around a chassis and a life. Coachbuild is rarer than Bespoke. It does not decorate an existing car. It can reshape the car's entire form. Boat tail drew from nautical forms, J-class yacht references, and a restored 1932 Rolls-Royce boat tail in its owner's collection. The point was never transportation. The point was turning private taste into a machine that could still move through public streets. With Drop Tail, Rolls-Royce turned Coachbuild into a deeply personal series, each commission shaped around one client's private brief. Arcadia Drop Tail was described as an expression of tranquility, proving restraint can be more revealing than extravagance. In Phantom, the dashboard can become a gallery, an art space protected behind glass, made for one owner's view. One Phantom gallery called Dragon used 297 veneer pieces and took an artisan 3 months to create by hand. Some commissions begin as gifts. Phantom Dentelle drew from couture lace, translating delicacy into embroidery, paint, and metal. The Starlight headliner works because it feels almost irrational, a night sky stitched into a space meant for travel. The Cullinan Cosmos commission turned a family's fascination with space into a hand-painted Milky Way across the cabin ceiling. A color can be engineered for one person, then kept from becoming ordinary by never appearing on another commission. Many custom buyers already live among art, watches, architecture, and yachts. The car becomes another object in that language. To outsiders, a dashboard clock is small. To this clientele, small things reveal whether a maker truly understood them. The reveal is part of the commission. By delivery day, the buyer is not collecting transport, but meeting an idea. For old money clients, the loudest choice may be refusing to explain the car at all. For newer wealth, customization can become a custom Rolls-Royce. Often matches more than taste. It can echo a home, a yacht, even a private aircraft cabin. The richest clients rarely buy objects in isolation. They build a continuous atmosphere around movement, privacy, and arrival. Luxury here is not only rare materials, it is the removal of friction before anyone has time to notice discomfort. The door closes, and the city changes character. That silence is engineered, but buyers experience it as permission to disappear. Private offices matter because taste is local. Light in Dubai does not behave like light in London or Seoul. The same badge travels globally, but the commission often reveals where the owner emotionally belongs. Eventually, the handmade object must leave the studio and behave like a car, not a sculpture. The romance survives only because the engineering works. Without reliability, every personal detail becomes an expensive inconvenience. A hand-painted line can look simple from 10 feet away. Up close, it is discipline made visible. Heritage gives buyers permission to be personal without appearing temporary. The past makes their choices feel heavier. Collectors understand something casual buyers miss. Provenance can become part of desire before a new car is even imagined. Some owners engrave initials, others choose symbols only their family understands. Privacy becomes the highest form of personalization. When money removes most limits, memory becomes the rare material. You cannot simply order it from a catalog. The most persuasive luxury references are rarely decorative. They come from other crafts with their own rules and histories. When couture enters a cabin, the challenge is restraint. Too much beauty in the wrong place becomes decoration, not taste. To this buyer, a car is not matched to status. It is matched to the discipline of a life already curated. Objects like these often witness decisions nobody records: inheritance, exile, apology, ambition, and carefully managed appearances. Not every buyer wants spectacle. Some want a car that can disappear into controlled spaces while still saying everything. The final surface looks calm because the labor beneath it has been made invisible. From the pavement, most people see only a large black car. Inside, an entire private commission may be passing by. The hardest part of personalization is not adding more. It is knowing when a private story has said enough. Many custom cars will never become famous. Their scarcity is not marketing. It is the owner's decision to stay unseen. In some lives, luxury is not an event. It is the ordinary vehicle waiting outside an old house at dawn. The Rolls-Royce is often chosen for the journey that requires composure. A custom cabin can make a crowded city feel distant, as if the owner has purchased a small pocket of weather. At this level, difference becomes microscopic, a shade warmer, a grain softer, a stitch slightly quieter. For frequent private travelers, the car is part of a choreography: landing, door, silence, destination, no unnecessary public exposure. The buyer commissions the object, but daily luxury depends on people who understand silence, timing, and invisible preparation. A bespoke car is not finished at delivery. Its care requires records, samples, and memory preserved by the maker. True luxury must age well. A commission that only impresses on delivery has failed its richest promise. The strangest thing about personal cars is that they can outlast the lives that made them personal. For certain families, a custom Rolls-Royce becomes more than property. It becomes a chapter people argue to preserve. When a bespoke car changes hands, private taste becomes evidence. Strangers study choices once meant for one person. The owner may have wanted privacy, the market may later reward exactly what made the car intimate. The buyer's name may remain hidden, but the car carries hundreds of anonymous signatures from people who built it. Behind every impossible request is someone ordinary enough to carry skill home in tired hands. The wealthiest choice is sometimes subtraction. A quieter color can say the buyer has nothing left to prove. Public luxury needs an audience. Bespoke luxury often begins after the doors close and the cameras are gone. Rolls-Royce expanded private offices because the most valuable customer relationship is no longer only the sale, but the commission. Rolls-Royce announced major Goodwood investment to support Bespoke and Coachbuild work as clients demand more complex personalization. Every poetic detail has an economic shadow: time, labor, capacity, margin, and the risk of disappointing one powerful client. The more personal each car becomes, the harder it is to treat production like a simple line. Unlimited choice can become a burden. The designer's job is to protect the client from their own excess. In places where wealth is everywhere, individuality becomes harder. A custom car offers distinction without needing to shout. The buyer who collects art may not ask for extravagance. They may ask for proportion, tension, and a perfect shade of doubt. Recognition is part of the bargain. The buyer can hide details, but the silhouette still announces a certain world. In elite spaces, status is often measured by how little explanation something requires. The car may be emotional, but the environment around its buyer is often deeply strategic. A client may imagine without limits. The maker must translate imagination into something that can survive heat, time, and use. Beauty inside a car must endure sunlight, temperature, movement, and years of touch. Fragility is not allowed to remain fragile. Only on the road does the private idea meet weather, distance, and strangers who will never know its story. A bespoke finish creates responsibility. The owner has not only bought beauty, but a duty to protect it. Even the journey to the owner is controlled. Privacy begins before the car reaches the driveway. The most revealing moment is not the unveiling. It is the pause before the owner decides whether it feels true. When the detail works, the buyer does not need to explain it. The hand understands before language arrives. After years of hands and meetings, the car enters a simpler reality: road, weather, destination, silence. Once home, the commission becomes harder to separate from the owner. It reflects taste, but also exposes it. For the owner, the extraordinary eventually becomes morning scenery. That is both the privilege and the danger. Some custom cars are driven often. Others become private monuments, preserved so carefully they almost stop living. A personal car only becomes fully personal when it gathers miles, weather, and the small imperfections of use. The owner's life writes the next layer into the material. Sometimes, the commission becomes part of family ceremony, carrying people through moments too important for ordinary transport. The same silence that flatters arrival can also protect grief. Luxury follows life into its quieter rooms. To inherit a bespoke car is to inherit someone's decisions, including the parts they never explained. Restoration asks a difficult question. Should luxury erase time, or should it honor the evidence of having lived? The next owner's impossible request depends on skills being taught long before the request exists. What buyers call perfection is often the result of failures removed before they ever reach the car. The temptation is always exaggeration, but Rolls-Royce custom culture is already strange enough without invented myths. Even the rarest object cannot command everyone's attention. That may be exactly why some owners prefer it. Modern bespoke work uses digital tools, but the final decision still returns to hand, eye, and touch. A commission may begin with emotion, but it must still face rain, like every other car on Earth. The best commissions do not always end at gallows. Sometimes they end beside a tree, unnoticed. After the passenger leaves, the car still carries traces: warmth in leather, a folded paper, a life moving elsewhere. At some point, desire becomes paperwork. The dream must be written clearly enough for strangers to build it. A finished custom Rolls-Royce can look calm, but calm is the final form of thousands of decisions. The buyer may sign alone, but taste is rarely solitary. Families, partners, and histories enter the car quietly. Sometimes the most expensive instruction begins as something almost embarrassingly simple: a child's drawing, a favorite sky, a remembered blue. Coachbuild stories often begin outside cars entirely, in family trades, restored objects, materials, and places that shape the owner. For some owners, the car is the border between who they are privately and who the world is allowed to see. It brings systems, gates, schedules, discretion, insurance, and trust. Sometimes ownership is not the act of using something. It is knowing it waits, finished, behind a closed drawer. After all the ateliers, samples, and signatures, the car returns to one ancient luxury, being carried through darkness in peace. The next commission begins before the last one becomes legend. At Goodwood, private dreams keep arriving as work. Before the first choice, the most expensive car in the room is still only a blank space. What looks like excess from outside may feel from inside like proof that one private life mattered enough to be studied. The untold story is not who bought it. It is why they needed a machine to remember them. And somewhere behind that glass, a life moves quietly forward, unexplained, protected, and written in materials that will outlast the journey.